From WFRV TV Local 5, your local election headquarters, this is Newsmaker Sunday with your host, Tom Zalaski.
Good morning. Welcome to Newsmaker Sunday. I'm Tom Zalaski. Today we focus on the 6th Congressional District, an area which covers just north of Milwaukee, reaching into areas just west of Oshkosh and the Fox cities. Two candidates are competing for that seat, Republican incumbent Glenn Grothman and the Greenbush Democrat Jessica King of Oshkosh. Now, Glenn Grothman was first elected to Congress in 2014. Before that, he was in the State Assembly and the Wisconsin State Senate. Mr. Grothman is also an estate planning attorney and a tax preparer, and we have the privilege of welcoming Congressman Glenn Grothman to Newsmaker Sunday. We thank you, sir, for joining us this morning.
Glad to be on the show. I wish we did this more frequently. A lot of fun.
We should do this. Before we get into the political questions, take me to the campaign trail in the era of COVID. What's it been like for you?
Well, it's a little bit more difficult. You know, in a normal year, I do about 50 parades, and this year I've done about 10 parades. I think in a normal year, I have 10 counties, so I have 10 county fairs. This year I had 1 county fair. So it's a little bit harder to find places where people are hanging out together, and of course in COVID, you want to be careful. But there are a variety of groups doing things, and I show up at events for, you know, the American Legion or the Lions Club, or sometimes church have little festivals, that sort of thing. So I still do get out and about.
Well, COVID, as you mentioned, is topic A in the entire nation, if not the world. Can Congress do a better job of helping people affected by COVID, or are you pretty much tied to what the White House does?
Well, I think I try to use my position to educate people on things that I don't think have been publicized enough. You know, there are studies out there showing that 40% of the public doesn't have enough vitamin D. And you can take vitamin D supplements on a day and lot like today. You can get outside and get some sun, and you'll do something towards preventing the severity of COVID if you get it. And I've tried to publicize that. I'm disappointed the CDC and NIH have not publicized that more. I'm also trying to be in contact with the CDC to educate them or have them look into a drug that the Israelis have had success on, a drug called fenofibrate that is normally used for high cholesterol, and hopefully I'm having some progress there.
Why have we not heard of that? I have not heard of that.
It's a good question. The vitamin D thing, you know, I've got, you know, my relatives now are all taking it, and I've showed them the studies. But I'm disappointed that the CDC, to me, they're primarily focusing on a vaccine, and maybe we'll get a vaccine, and maybe that'll be very good. But at least I'm told even if we get a vaccine, it's not going to be 100% effective. It might not be 50% effective. And we might not get that for another year. So I think it's important to emphasize other things you can do now to prevent things from getting serious. Because right now, Wisconsin, you know, is being a little overwhelmed here. Another thing I try to educate the public on, look out for family gatherings. I was talking to a hospital administrator, and he says that's what he saw a lot of, which makes sense to me. If you go out for a fish fry, and I'll go out for a fish fry somewhere tonight, you're a little bit on your guard. You know, you've got a lot of strangers there. But if you're going out for a wedding reception or a wedding anniversary or a funeral, you're surrounded by people you know. You're more likely to hug them, you're more likely to let your guard down. And at least one hospital administrator told me they see a lot of people who they feel got the COVID at a family gathering. So be on the ball on those family gatherings, just like you would be at a fish fry with a bunch of strangers.
You're talking about things like fish fries. Businesses, they have gotten hammered throughout this entire process. How do we help them until this whole thing is over?
It's a very difficult thing. We, of course, have passed legislation in Congress that helped a lot of these businesses, but it's only good for a given period of time. And I wouldn't mind doing a little bit more, particularly because the government is kind of ordering them to have less sales. And if the government's going to order you to have less sales, it's a little bit up to the government to kind of make you whole. And of course, I always do try to go out. You know, sometimes take out. Sometimes I go in. I'm going to try to have maybe an early and late fish fry tonight to do what I can support the businesses. But I'm afraid my little spending isn't enough to keep people going.
You say it's up to the government to, quote, make you whole as far as businesses go. So where's the stimulus bill?
Well, the stimulus bill that's out there, and there's a misnomer that says that Congress can't get along. We've passed 5 important coronavirus bills that Donald Trump has signed. This last bill, and I don't mean to be partisan here, I don't consider myself a partisan person, but this last bill the Democrat position, and I have a lot of Democrat friends, but their position is that we have to give a new $1,200 stimulus check, not just to the citizens of this country, but to the people who are here illegally. And not only $1,200 to the people who are here illegally, but because they couldn't get $1,200 last time, we're going to give the people who are illegally $2,400. Which, to me, how can you agree to a position like that? Another thing that your listeners are perhaps familiar with, here in Wisconsin, over time, we set aside money so that when our public employees retire, be it the teachers, law enforcement, what have you, the money is ready to go. Illinois has not done that, which is why Illinois has a mess. You know, they weren't setting aside the money. Well, in the stimulus bill that's out there, we help Illinois get caught up because they haven't funded their pensions in the past. Well, what does that have to do with coronavirus? I mean, I'm not going to vote. After so many years, Wisconsin has been responsible and set aside money. I don't want to vote because of the coronavirus to make Illinois whole. Or there are other things in there. When I remember being in the state legislature, we got photo ID to make sure that elections are honest. In their bill, they got rid of photo ID. Why in a coronavirus bill are we saying we have to get rid of photo ID for elections? So I don't know, the Democrats and Nancy, I mean, I think I have a good relationship with her, but I don't know whether they sincerely want another bill. When you put provisions like this in here, say, if we're going to give you another bill, I want $1,200 for each illegal immigrant, actually $2,400. I mean, to me, the Democrat Party has just changed, and kind of that extreme part of the Democrat Party has taken over the negotiations.
Again, without being partisan, do you think that the Democrats are purposely holding off on that money until after the election so that President Trump can't say, I gave you the $1,200?
Well, you've got to wonder, you know, are they afraid to reach a deal for fear that President Trump will say, look, I've accomplished something? And is that why they leave stuff in there like you've got to get rid of photo ID before we pass a bill? I don't know. I mean, you have to wonder, and I have a lot of good Democrat friends, but you have to wonder, when you put things like that in your negotiating position, do you really want a deal?
Let me turn to another issue you know well of in Waukesha, especially in our state, racial tension. What can Congress do to ease the tensions, or is that out of your realm?
Well, first of all, I don't think America is as racist a country as some people are trying to make it. Okay, when I talk to people who are not from European descent in my district, I mean, they're from all over the world, or when I'm in Washington, be it Ethiopia or Eritrea, be it India or Pakistan, be it Laos or Korea or Philippines, people come here from all over the world, and they are enjoying the American dream. And I think there are people out there exaggerating racism for political advantage, which I think is very unfortunate. I don't think there's as much racism as they say. Sometimes people have die in a confrontation with a police officer. But if you look at the studies and you break it down per violent crime committed, you know, white people are, per violent crime committed, just as likely to be killed in a confrontation with police as black people. And they don't publicize that enough. So I think America is a very accepting nation. That's why people from all around the world want to come here. And I do think there are people for political purposes who are screaming racism more than they have to.
Do you think we need more police training, or is the police training not the problem, not the issue?
Well, I think over time, the number of people who die at the hands of police is actually, I'm under the impression, dropping. Police do get training in a situation like that, but I've sat in on some of these trainings. And, you know, part of the training is you learn that if you don't do anything, you know, maybe somebody's going to shoot you, right? And you can get online and find things where, you know, a police officer doesn't shoot somebody who's being difficult, and that person turns around and shoots the police officer first. So the training can go either way. I think training is always a good thing. But at least in my district, when I talk to the sheriff's department and police departments, they are getting training. And more training is fine. But like I said, I think, and we will pay for more training, and, you know, in future budgets, you know, I'm sure we will. But that's kind of my general opinion. And I have talked to a lot of policemen, sheriff's deputies, and the bills out there that Congress is talking about, and it affects correction officers too, by the way. let me tell you, they're coming after the correction officers too. What people in Congress are trying to do is they're trying to get rid of something called qualified immunity, so that you can sue a policeman whenever he handcuffs somebody, whenever he arrests somebody, and that puts the policeman in a very difficult position. I don't think a lot of policemen are going to want to be policemen or want to arrest somebody. If you arrest somebody and they say, oh, you hurt my shoulder, you hurt my back or something or other. And that's where Congress is headed right now. I have never in my years in government seen such anti-police hysteria. And that comes from somebody who, when I was in the state legislature, introduced a bill to try to make it easier to get rid of a bad police officer, and there are bad police officers. But right now, the anti-police feeling is just, among the congressmen, is just, to me, overboard.
And we continue with Congressman Glenn Grothman right after this. Please stay with us.